All right, let's get right into it. For years, the big promise of military tech has been pretty simple. Make war faster, cleaner, maybe even easier. And with AI now in the mix, that promise feels like it's right around the corner. But what if that's totally backward? What if AI doesn't solve the oldest problems of war, but actually creates a brand new kind of problem? A type of friction that's way harder to see and maybe even more dangerous. To really get this, we've got to go back about 200 years to the legendary military thinker Karl von Clausewitz. He famously said, "Everything in war is simple, but the simplest thing is difficult." He knew even back then that war is just messy. He gave a name to the cause of all that messiness: friction. And believe it or not, in the age of AI, that one little word has become more important than ever. So what exactly is this Clausewitzian friction? Well, in short, it's everything that can and will go wrong. It's the fog of war, it's the garbled radio message, the tank that breaks down, it's plain bad luck, and of course, it's just simple human error. It's the powerful force that separates a perfect plan on paper from the chaos on the ground. Now, for decades, military planners have been trying to wipe this friction off the map with better and better technology, from the telegraph and the radio all the way to satellites. And the latest, greatest hope to finally solve this problem? You guessed it, artificial intelligence. But here's the kicker, and this is the most important idea we're going to talk about. AI doesn't actually get rid of friction. Nope, it just changes it. The old problems, like not enough information or messages arriving too late, are being replaced by a new kind of friction, an algorithmic friction. And this new version is sneakier and, in a lot of ways, a whole lot more dangerous. So, what does this new algorithmic friction actually look like on a modern battlefield? Well, it really boils down to three big problems. And the first one is going to sound completely backward. For basically all of human history, the main problem in war was not having enough information. Commanders were just desperate for any little piece of intelligence they could get their hands on. Today, we have the exact opposite problem. We are literally drowning in data. This is what some are calling informational friction. We have so much data flooding in from drones, from sensors, from satellites, that no single human brain can possibly keep up. And here's the really weird part. Adding more data doesn't always make things clearer. Sometimes it just creates more confusion, more uncertainty. And in that confusion, there's this huge pressure to just act fast, to prioritize tempo or speed over getting to the actual truth. Okay, the second problem. It's about where the mistakes come from. We've always had to worry about mistakes made by people. Now we have to worry about the AI models themselves making mistakes, and they often do it in ways that are really, really hard to see coming. And this gets us to the heart of algorithmic friction. Think about it this way. An AI that's brilliant at spotting tanks in a desert might be completely useless in a snowy forest. That's a classic training data bias. Or maybe the enemy changes tactics, and suddenly the AI's performance just tanks. That's something called distribution shift. But maybe the scariest part is that a lot of these AIs are black boxes. Even the people who built them don't know exactly why they make the choices they do. You see, these aren't just little tech glitches. These are massive strategic problems waiting to happen. And that brings us to the final piece of this puzzle. It's not about the data, it's not about the algorithm, it's about us. It's about how we build our teams and systems around this powerful new technology. The temptation is to build one giant, all-knowing system to run the whole show. And that's how you get organizational friction. See, if you put all your data, all your decision-making into one big central computer, you've just painted a giant bullseye on it for your enemy. Take that one hub out and your entire network could just collapse. So the goal shouldn't be to build a perfect system that never fails. The goal should be to build a resilient one that can degrade gracefully when, and I mean when, not if, it gets hit. Okay, so we've laid out all these new, thorny problems. But here's a wild thought. What if the answer isn't to get rid of friction? What if some friction is actually a good thing? This is one of those ideas that sounds wrong at first, but it's incredibly powerful. And you can really see the difference right here. On the left, you've got the bad stuff, dysfunctional friction, the kind that just wastes time and causes chaos. But over on the right, you see something called constructive friction. This is friction by design. It's friction as a feature, not a bug. We're talking about deliberate pauses to verify a target, or built-in checks to make sure an attack is legal and proportional. This is the kind of friction that doesn't waste time. It preserves human judgment, and that saves lives. So, to put it simply,
Constructive friction is all about intentionally building speed bumps into our military systems. It's about designing our processes to force a moment of human reflection, especially right before a life or death decision is made. The whole point is to make our command systems smarter, not just faster.
Now, all this sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you keep a human in meaningful control when the machines are moving at the speed of light? Well, this chart here lays out the trade-offs really well. Take that top row, for example. If you build a centralized data fabric, basically one big brain for everything, the risk is a massive single point of failure. But look at the solution. It isn't more tech. It's a deeply human idea called mission command, which is all about trusting people on the ground to make their own calls. It just goes to show you, the solution is as much about our culture as it is about our code. And building on that, you can't just demand that people trust these AI systems. That trust has to be earned. And it's built on 3 very human pillars. First, commanders have to be taught enough about AI to ask the hard questions. Second, you have to create a culture where people feel safe, heck, even rewarded for questioning what the machine tells them. And finally, and this is the big one, the moral responsibility, the ownership, always stays with the human commander. The computer is never held accountable. The person is. Which brings us to the single most important rule of them all. When we're talking about using lethal force, what percentage of those actions need to have positive, active human control? The answer has to be 100%, every single time. No exceptions. That right there is the ultimate form of constructive friction. So, after all of this, what's the big takeaway? As we're racing to build the most advanced military AI, it seems like we might be trying to solve the wrong problem. You see, the goal isn't just to make the kill chain go faster. The real challenge, the ultimate challenge, is a human one. It's about building systems and training leaders to use this incredible technology to illuminate human judgment, not to push it aside in some blind race for speed. And so that leaves us with one final, and I think pretty critical question for the future. The technology is only going to get smarter, faster, and more capable. The real test is going to be a human one. Will we have the wisdom and the discipline to keep AI as our most powerful tool without ever letting it become our commander?